Fam, welcome to this week's Ask Schellie segment. My name is Schellie Fanfan, and I am your emotional intelligence expert. I'm a Florida State licensed psychotherapist, CEO, and owner of Ask Schellie Consulting, where we work with corporations and other business entities to bring them to their next level through the provision of psychoeducation. I have the pleasure, the privilege of answering questions every day as a licensed psychotherapist because we want to know more about ourselves. We generally want to know more about the people that we love and work with. And so people often ask me questions. So I take this opportunity to share questions with you all every Tuesday at 12 live. Sometimes the questions are very much related to mental health, some just relationships, sex, all types of issues on the emotional spectrum. And so I love what I do. I love the feedback that I get from each and every one of you. You guys are part of my consultation team. So please be encouraged to chime in, to share your perspective. I think it's important that we do this collectively, and I love your feedback. I also want to make sure that I make it very clear that this is not therapy. It is not. It is no way an attempt to replace that process that some people decide to embark on to get to their next level, to heal emotional injury, to make sure that they are the best version of themselves, to be successful in relationships and work, in how they serve their higher power, you name it. And so if you feel that you need therapy, that is definitely a different process. When you reach out to a licensed psychotherapist, you sign consent, you make sure that you understand the limits and the liabilities of what you're about to engage in, and then you take off on a journey of overcoming a lot of the times yourself. But this is an opportunity to share perspective in hopes that it would be something that you can add to your wellness toolbox. And so again, I want to welcome you guys to this week's Ask Schellie segment. Every once in a while, I survey my clients to ask me questions that they have of me. And so the reason why I do this is because I am one of those patients that often want to know what my doctor is doing. So for my gynecologist, you're telling me all these great things that I can use or all these practices that I should be implementing. I want to know what you're doing, right? I want to know what you're doing. When I go to restaurants and I see the restaurant owner eating something, I want to know, what are y'all eating, right? So I just want to make sure that I have that transparent relationship with my clients where they have the ability to ask me questions as well. And so I've done this a couple of months ago, and so I have 3 questions that were asked of me about things that I do or things that or ways that I address certain situations, and I'm going to be sharing that with you. And I do invite you to also share how you respond to certain situations. And so again, I will be answering these questions specifically as it relates to how I do it, and I invite you to do the same. Before we go into that questioning, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page about wellness tips during this shut-in, during this quarantine. We talked about it last week. The live last week was pretty loaded. So when you have the time, just go back and watch that replay. But just to summarize what we talked about specifically as it relates to surviving this quarantine, there are certain things that we have to make sure that we are intentional about. And to quickly go over that list, hello, Bree. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for joining in. Hello, Jimmy. Thank you, cuz. Thank you for joining in. Hello, Stefan. Just to quickly go over that, and as I go over it, I want you to tell me how you're doing, right? So I'm going to say something, I'm going to say the steps, and I want you to say, I'm doing good in that, or I need help in that. So let's give ourselves red light, yellow light, green light, okay? Let's do that. So red light means I am not doing it, I'm at a complete stop and need some help. Yellow is like, I'm going a little slowly in that. And green is I've taken off in that and I'm doing well. Okay, so we are assessing. Hello, Jackie. Thank you for joining in. We are assessing how well we are doing with the prescription that we talked about last week in terms of surviving this quarantine, okay? So what you're gonna do is give yourself red light, yellow light, green light. Red light means I ain't doing it, I'm at a complete stop. Yellow light, I'm kind of doing it, kind of going slow, but getting better. And green light is I've completely taken off in that, okay? So the first thing that we talked about is the importance of making sure that you are getting up. That seems pretty simple, right? But we have people that are sleeping until like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Completely unproductive. That can exacerbate depression and anxiety in itself because you're unproductive, you're not sticking to general routines. So it is important that we are still trying our best to stay as close to our regular routines as possible. So for those of you who are continuing to get up in the morning, if that was 5 o'clock for you, you're still getting up at 5. If that was 6 or 7 for you, you're still getting up at 6 or 7. How many of you are still getting up? Put get up and tell me what you give yourself. Red light, yellow light, green light. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. Red light, yellow light, or green light for getting up in the morning. How are we doing here? I got to make sure that you guys are doing well. Red light, yellow light, green light. Let me know what you're giving yourself in that area. Stefan says green light. Okay, so Stefan is still getting up in the morning. I give myself a green light on that. I'm still up. I'm still being productive. We're giving ourselves a red light, yellow light, green light. Red light means I'm at a stop. Yellow light means I'm getting there slowly. Green light is I'm full throttle. We're talking about, Jimmy says green. So Jimmy is giving himself a green and getting up in the morning. All right, the second thing is to get groomed, okay? We talked about getting groomed. For those of you who are just joining in, we are self-assessing ourselves. Red light, yellow light, green light. Red light means I'm at a complete stop, ain't doing nothing. Yellow light is I'm slowly getting there. Green light is I'm totally full throttle in that area. And the first one was getting up in the morning, making sure that you are getting up at your regular time. The second is getting groomed. Getting groomed. So not only are you waking up, but you're taking a shower, you're shaving, you're getting your edges right, you're getting your hair done. Listen, why isn't hair salons and nail salons an essential business? Can we sign a petition somewhere to make that an essential business? Because look at my hair. I'm not trying to be eccentric here. It's because I don't have many options. Okay, so anyway, how many of us are still getting groomed? You're taking a shower, you're putting your face on, you're getting your hair together, you are getting dressed. No mumu, no quarantine mumus, okay? Hello, Fatumata Diara. Thank you for joining, Lewis. Hi, Octavia, I see you. All right. Thank you, Jackie. She says I look fabulous, but she's my sister, so she's going to tell me. Actually, no. You would tell me the truth. All right. So red light, yellow light, green light. We're self-assessing ourselves. Do you give yourself a red light? I'm at a complete stop, not doing it. Yellow, I'm getting there. Green light, full throttle. We talked about getting groomed. How many of you are still getting up and getting groomed? Taking care of yourself. Making sure your hair is done. Making sure your makeup is done. Nicole says she gives herself a green for getting groomed. Awesome. Octavia says, today was the first day I put edge control on my edges. I did a little bit right here, girl. Because I didn't want to look too eccentric. Yeah, I got you. And Jackie says, I watch YouTube. She says she's fashionable with her mouchoir. Stefan is saying no because it's time for the real person to show who they are. Okay, all right. So how are we? Lewis says he gives himself a green for getting groomed. The third thing was getting fueled, okay? So we talked about getting up in the morning, sticking to those schedules the way you were doing it when you were out in the world. The second is getting groomed. The third is getting fueled. Getting fueled. That means that you are eating right. And I mentioned last week, that's not the biggest strength for me, but I made major progress this week. I went to Chamberlain's, which is an essential business. It was open. And I got black seed oil, I got oregano oil, I got, what else? Another oil. Black seed oil, I got vitamin D, vitamin B6, I mean, just load it up. And that in itself has motivated me to eat much, much healthier. Yes, some of you guys saw me cooking up the shrimp and grits. Yes, Stefan, I know. But how many of you are doing a great job with getting fueled, right? I had a live with the doctor the other day, and the doctor said, you know what? While we are quarantined, it's not only about making sure that we're not getting the virus, but it's also about preparing our immune system in case we do. I was like, oh my gosh, it really hit me in a new way when he said that. I was like, wow, we should be preparing our bodies in the event that we do. Doing all that we can to build our immune systems. Yes, I was at Chamberlain's the next day, okay? All right, so Lewis gives himself a green. Fatumata says, thanks for advice last week. I still struggle with makeup in the morning. I don't. I've been doing that. It makes me feel good. And it's like it tells my brain that we're still working here. We still need you to operate. We still need you to write that book. We still need you to pour out into your clients, right? It does. And so I get up and I get dressed and I do my hair and I do what I gotta do. Stefan says, green, calories has decreased because my activity is less, but definitely still eating. And he's a powerhouse. For those of you who don't know, he's amazing. His body is crazy, 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 crazy. Jackie on Instagram says, and added a new workout routine to my week. Okay, Jackie, you go, girl. Yes, work out. And so Nicole is saying for getting fuel, she gives herself a green. Awesome. So we talked about what? Lewis says definitely a green on fuel. So he is eating right. For those of you who don't know Louis Lubin, go to his page and see the Stefan, you have to see the transformation on his page. You gotta see how this man has transformed his body through discipline, through consistency, right? And determination. I don't know what your prescription is. You could put your 3-step, 5-step, 7-step prescription, but he looks amazing. And that just shows us how important it is to be consistent and to assure that your motivation is intrinsic, that it has nothing to do with anybody else but you. Yes? And so Natalie is she's taking lots of walks. So she's a green and yellow in the area of getting fuel. Now, the next thing that we talked about. So again, we talked about getting up in the morning, getting groomed. Look at my nails. Hello, that space is not supposed to be there. That's because nail salons are not an essential business. And I want to know where I could sign the petition to make it an essential business. Okay? All right. Now, so we talked about getting up. We talked about getting groomed. We talked about getting fuel. The next thing is to plan your day. Plan your day, right? Because now that you got fueled, you need to give your body an hour before you work out. So perfect time to plan your day. Making sure that you're planning your day for your children. Some of you already have pre-planned your day. One of my coaches, Jennifer Enders, she showed me a picture of a board that she has in her home where her kids' days are planned from morning to the time that they go back to sleep. I was like, okay, I haven't done that yet, but awesome. She's an amazing mom, super mom. Shout out to you, Jen. And so planning, Stefan gives himself a yellow in that. Thank you for your honesty. How are you guys doing with planning? Let's see. Octavia gives herself a red. These are the things that you have to make sure you are including in your plan for the day. Where's my cheat sheet? This is what you have to make sure you are including in your plan every day. Are we ready? You don't have your notepad in hand. I have a special cell phone where you can actually see the people that are in your life. I can't, but I just want to scare you out. So get your pen and paper out. This is what you have to make sure that you are putting in your plan. So before you rate yourself, okay, because I see some greens. Lewis is giving himself a green. Alkia on Facebook is giving herself a yellow. Nicole is giving herself a red in planning. How about over here? Jackie does that nightly. She gives herself a yellow/green. She says she doesn't plan out the whole day. Okay. So before you rate yourself, I want you to re-rate yourself after you hear this. These are the things that you have to consider when you plan your day. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is what you have to make sure you include in your plan. You have to make sure that you are including exposure to sunlight. And some of us have been raised to believe that we need to run from sun. Run from sun. Run from sun. Don't run from sun, because when you run from sun, you end up on my couch because you're depressed and anxious. So we want to make sure that we have adequate exposure to sunlight, okay? So you are literally planning your time to kind of step outside the house, right? And you're intentional about that. The next thing you want to make sure that's in your plan are your meals. If you don't plan your meals, you will eat 20 to 30 times a day and not even realize it. Okay? We're not gaining 100 pounds during this quarantine. Thank you for the hearts, Alkia. We're not gaining 20 pounds during this quarantine. So you are planning out your meals for your body, right? You're planning out your meals. This is what we're having for breakfast. This is what we're having for lunch. This is what we're having for dinner. These are the snacks that I'm going to put out in between those meals, and we're going to keep it healthy, right? So you're planning out your meals for your body, but you're also planning out your meals for your soul. We talked about, my business partner, Robin Williams, teaches this so efficiently and effectively. What you attend to will continue. What you attend to will continue. So it is important for us to make sure that we are putting into our ear gates and eye gates things that build us. So you are planning out your podcast. You are planning out that sermon from TD Jakes. You're going into YouTube and putting sermon on fear, sermon on anxiety, sermon on loneliness, sermon on something that you are planning out meals for your soul. Meals for your body, meals for your soul. We're including sunlight, we're including meals. You're making sure that in your plan, you are very intentional about how you are connecting with people, right? How you are connecting with people that you love that are not necessarily within arm reach, and also how you're connecting with the people that are within your arm's reach, right? That's important as well. That we're not just sharing time and space with the people that we love. We're not just tolerating our children, but that we're connecting with them. Yes? We are connecting, we're getting that eye contact in, we're getting that skin contact in, whether you're wrestling with your kids or whatever, you're getting that verbal contact in. That's quality. We're not just sharing time and space, but really connecting with people. And you're being intentional about that in your plan, how you're connecting with people. The next thing that we talked about is being productive with your work. Some of us actually have to really work from home. And so you're making sure that you're doing whatever it is you have to do for your 9 to 5 from home. For those of you who are completely derailed, where you're not working right now, what a time to pull out that business plan, okay? Pull out that business plan, get into that closet, get into the garage, create productive time for yourself, and making sure that you are putting that in your plan as well. So if you're not able to work from home for real, that you are also making sure that you're working on your own individual projects, that non-for-profit, those things and those ideas that you have just brewing on the inside of you, this is the time to put it on paper. Because when you put it on paper, you breathe life into that thing. And so it's never too late. That idea that you have that's collecting dust is never too late. Take your business to the next level. Revamp your content creation. Revamp your social media. Take this time to be productive, right? And so if you're completely derailed from work and you absolutely cannot do anything, you don't have your own business, work around the house, them dirty baseboards, get into the weeds, make that time productive. Restore your environment. It looks like Lewis is giving himself 2 checks, so I guess that's a green. Fatumata says working from home, green, awesome. Natalie is giving herself sunlight, green. Thank you, check mark from Meals Lewis over here. Thank you, Ramel, for joining. We love you. We're keeping you prayed up, brother. We are keeping you prayed up. Stay strong, stay the course. God is amazing, and he is still in control, even in the midst of our struggles. So Stefan gives himself a green. Okay, next thing. We have to engage our brain. We have to let our brains know that we are still working. We still need you to operate. And there's some unique ways to do that. What do you give your brain in the midst of all of this like containment, right? Like we feel so contained. We have to make sure that we stimulate our brains. And the way that you do that is to learn new information. Perfect time to learn a new language. What new language do you want to learn? What new language do you want to learn? Someone said liquor. I'm not sure what she's saying, liquor too, but we'll talk about that offline. Yeah. So that's awesome, and you're being honest and listen. Yeah, every once in a while. So how are we keeping our brain stimulated? Last week we talked about using your opposite hand. Jimmy, JR, you said that you were going to try that. So I want to hear how that's going. So last week we talked about the importance of stimulating that side of your brain that has just kind of gone to sleep because you don't use it. So if you're right hand dominant, you're using your left hand. If you're left hand dominant, you're using your right hand, getting that opposite brain functioning, getting those brain cells multiplying. We talked about learning a new language, downloading apps on your phone and taking time to engage your brain in that way. We talked about learning to play a new instrument. And so inviting new information into your brain. How are you letting your brain know that in this season, we're not going to sleep? Okay. So how are you doing with that? Give yourself green, yellow, or red. For those of us who, let's see. Okay, we're back. I'm not sure what just happened, but I think Facebook is back. Okay, so we're giving ourselves a red light, right? A red light for I'm at a complete stop, not doing good. Yellow light for I'm doing okay, slowly getting there. Green light, I'm in full throttle. So the next thing is media exposure. Media exposure. How are you doing with limiting your media exposure? We talked about what you put in is going to come out. What you put in is going to come out. Alkia gives herself a green with learning new things. I know you are killing it, girl. We want the book. Come on now, Alkia. In Jesus' name, amen. It's all done. And so Jackie says, you added a lot of bullets. I know, it's a lot. Listen, that's why I told you guys to take notes, because I'm flowing. Okay, so I try to keep this in 30 minutes. Not sure. Are you doing, I'm not sure why I keep losing connection over here and on Facebook. So anyway, how are you doing with limiting your media exposure? What you put in will come out. So if you continue to absorb all that panic, all that hysteria, and in my opinion, sorry guys, propaganda, motive of man, how well are you doing with limiting your exposure? You could put in your plan 3 times a day, 15 to 20 minutes, getting onto CNN or whatever it is you watch, right? And just keep yourself aware and informed, but not consumed. Aware and informed, but not consumed. How well are you doing with limiting exposure to media? Lewis gives himself a green light for that. Natalie gives herself a green. She's limiting herself big time. Awesome. LaShonda says media exposure green, sunlight yellow, meals yellow. You're getting there. We expect to see greens next week over here. Stefan says red and yellow. What do they make? That's me. I'm not sure. Tell me what that means. So listen, we have to make sure that we are limiting our media, that we're limiting that we're giving ourselves 2 to 3 times a day to stay informed and aware, but not consumed. Okay. The next thing that you want to do. Okay, guys. How intentional are you about laughing every day? Social media is making me, those memes have me rolling. I'm making sure that I'm getting my Martin playbacks in to keep me laughing, because laughing creates all this chemical responses in our brain that say things are well. It changes my thought process, gives me more hope. I'm smiling about the future. I'm more positive about the future. So what are you doing about intentionally laughing? Natalie says green. Yes, girl, laugh. Yes. Stefan says, I'm laughing on your live right now. I made it to be funny, but okay, Stefan. Let's see, who is this? I can't see who that is. CJ's proud mom. Is that you, Aaliyah? Liquor and Martin. Okay, Liquor and Martin Lawrence. I got you. And Jackie says, I crack myself up. Jackie, Relaxing Jackson, she has this personality on Instagram. Remind me of who she is. Cracks me up every time. Lewis says he gives himself a green light about laughing. Make sure you are laughing, okay? Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Madam Natalie Cartwright. Now, the next thing that we have to make sure is that we're planning how we decompress. At the end of the day, we've cleaned the garage. We've overcome our fear of lizards. That's me. I don't want to clean my garage because I'm afraid of lizards. So if those of you who want to come over and help, feel free. So after we've done that and we've been productive, we've eaten, we've worked out, at night are we, in the evening, how are we decompressing? And it's very important that you're planning that as well, okay? And then the last step is making sure that we activate our plan. So we're getting up, we're getting groomed, we're getting fueled. We are planning, and then we're activating our plan, and we're making sure that we are true to the plan that we set, all right? So how are we with planning out decompressing? How are you guys decompressing at night? We are taking in a lot. We are used to reading Bible stories, not living them. Let me let that sit for a second. We are used to reading Bible stories. Some of us are not even used to that. But some of us on this are used to reading Bible stories, but not necessarily living them. So how are we decompressing at night? Jackie says she's meditating at night. Awesome way to decompress. Lewis says he gives himself a yellow for decompressing. Thank you for your honesty, but he's getting there because yellow means like I'm getting there. We're hoping that these yellows become green next week. How are you decompressing? How are you decompressing? Natalie says that evenings are a little tough. Bedtime, having a lot of trouble sleeping, so she's giving herself a red. Yeah, right now it's real. It's real. There's a lot that we are intaking every day. Stefan says the way that he's decompressing is X-rated. Okay, we will pray for you. I'm laying hands on you from afar. Social distance laying hands on, okay? Social distance laying hands on. Alkia says she does a lot of meditating. LaShonda says she reads to decompress. Awesome. How are we decompressing? No, you're not kidding, Stefan. So how else are we decompressing here at night? It's important. Because while we're being productive, while we're doing all these amazing things to care for ourselves, it doesn't change the fact that people are dying. People are losing loved ones. The numbers do continue to rise. So we're still intaking a lot of challenges, and it's important that we are intentional about decompressing. Fatumata says she's meditating. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining in. We're talking about how we decompress because we're taking it in so much. So minister, pastor, prophet, please excuse me. I'm trying to think of what your title is. Tell us how you decompress in the evening after taking in all this. How are we decompressing? So, Aaliyah, is that you? CGS Proud Mom. I have a few drinks and just think about good times. Awesome. Okay, if that works for you. A few drinks, if it's true, because you keep talking about liquor. So if it's a few drinks, awesome. Anything that we do in moderation is okay. Anything that we do in extreme is not. Okay. So let's see what we have here on Facebook. How are we actually, that's one of the questions that someone asked me. And so we will go ahead and transition Stefan says she's an alcoholic. Well, we're not going to judge and place that diagnosis on anyone. So just make sure that we are sticking to our plan, right? We're getting up in the morning, we're getting groomed, we're getting fueled, we're planning, and we are including in our plan sunlight. We're including in our plan meals for our body, meals for our soul, staying connected with people, being productive for our work tasks, being productive for our own businesses, being productive in how you want to restore your environment at this time. We talked about engaging your brain and making sure that you are doing things to keep your brain engaged. Brain cells can only do two things, die or multiply. Brain cells can only die or multiply. So what are we doing to keep our brains engaged? We talked about learning a new language, learning to play a new instrument, using our less dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you're using your left hand. Wake up that other side of your brain. If you're left-handed, you're using your right. We talked about making sure that you are planning out your exposure to media, making sure that you're planning out your laughter, and making sure that you're planning out ways to decompress. So I am now going to switch over very quickly to questions that my clientele has asked of me to give myself an opportunity to be a little bit transparent, and then we're going to close. We'll be back next Tuesday so we can rate ourselves again. So Eric says, I am staying busy, but I do relax with the family playing games, Uno and Trouble. I love Uno. I've just learned all these new ways to play Uno. Like, what is this new generation trying to do? Like stacking. Who stacks during an Uno game? Who made that up? When did that change? When did stacking and Uno change? Who invited that into like the Uno game rules? Okay? It's crazy. All right. So 3 questions that are asked of me. I'm going to quickly go through them and then we're going to close. And it says, Dear Ask Schellie, you have mentioned that tools we use to be well are not always healthy. Can you name a tool that you use or have used in relationships that are not healthy? Not fair. These questions are not supposed to expose me, just to be a little transparent. So to answer the question, again, it says, you have mentioned that tools that we use to be well are not always healthy. Can you please name a tool that you use or have used in relationships that is not healthy? One of the tools that I have used is distance. That has been something that I have used. Notice that I'm using a defense mechanism and saying have, meaning it's the past and I'm separated from it. Just throwing that in there. And so I have grown very comfortable in being in relationships with people who are far. They're in other states. And so I just used to think that it just kind of like happened that way until I started to realize that this was just a way that my subconscious mind would just cause me to make decisions to create that distance. Another unhealthy tool is like immediate separation. So things aren't going right, don't like how you do these things, not giving you a chance, I'm out. And so I have learned how to ghost very well. If you look up ghosting and you Google that image, right? If you go onto Google and put ghosting people and click on image, this is what you will see. My face, okay? So those are just examples of ways that I have like used tools that are not necessarily healthy, because we have to learn to be in close proximity with the people that we are in a relationship with. I think that close proximity means increased vulnerability. Increased vulnerability means that I have to kind of like, actually include you in my day-to-day and actually limit my, time. I have to like not be so busy and those types of things. So I think that being or dating people who are in other states, I can plan you coming. I could plan that you're going to be here for a couple of days and I get to just take you to the airport and you fly back. That has been extremely unhealthy. And so thank you for your question. Anyway, next, how do you decompress? It says, Dear Ask Schellie, how do you decompress? So I shared that last week, so I'll go through this very quickly. I love self-love lotioning. And those of you who are nasty and need therapy, please don't respond if your response is not going to be healthy and holy. So I have this practice that I teach my clients called self-love lotioning. And that is when you take the time to slowly lotion your entire body, starting from the tips of your toes all the way to the crown of your head. And you're doing it very slowly. You got your Bob Marley playing, your Beres Hammond, your Nora Jones, your musical instrumental, your glass of happy juice, red preferable Cabernet, and you are just taking the time to lotion. I love lavender lotion because it's also stimulating all those beautiful, those great smells that kind of tell your brain it's time to calm down. And I take time to cover every single inch of my body. And so I teach that to my clients. It's called self-love lotioning, and making sure that you're taking the time to just love on yourself, really engaging in all that sensory stimulation, beautiful smells of the lotion that you choose. That is an amazing way I decompress. Another way that I decompress, and I share this on one of my posts, is driving home in silence. Right? That really helps me to just kind of organize my thoughts and organize my emotions. A major way that I decompress is prayer. Right? It's just getting into that place where I'm allowing intimacy with my higher power. Very, very powerful way that I decompress. And another way that I do, that I try to do at least once a quarter, is just sit down, kind of like the same environment with self-love lotioning, and I take a look at pictures. So I have a memory box, right? I have a little memory box, and when I'm cleaning, I try to throw things into that memory box, and just taking time to go through those pictures. Sometimes I'll do that on Facebook and go back, right? Go back to some of those pictures. And it does, like, seeing how life is just like moving so fast. I'm looking at baby pictures from my children. I'm looking back at college times when I was super holy. Back in college. And so just taking that time and just absorbing the moment and just being so thankful to God for the growth, the spiritual growth. So really just taking that time, going through pictures, yes? Going through pictures, and those are things that decompress me. So you guys already shared your decompression tools. Those are mine. It says, what is your secret, dear Ask Schellie, what is your secret sauce to goal attainment? What is your secret sauce to goal attainment? So I can go on and on to the break of dawn. Who said that? Was that Biggie or Tupac? Anyway, I could go on and on to the break of dawn about my secret sauce for goal attainment. Let me just keep it simple. Alkia says peppermint butter homemade rub down and prayer. Ooh. Peppermint butter homemade rub down. Do we need to get a patent on that? I see everything as a business opportunity, by the way, guys. Is that a gift or a curse? Pastor Eric, I see everything as a business opportunity. I see everything as a way to monetize. Alkia, get the patent on that thing. Peppermint butter homemade rub down is how she decompresses, and prayer. Amen. Hallelujah. Okay, so my secret sauce to goal attainment. Number one, I make sure that I am taking time to visualize what it is I want to achieve. Intentionally. I have always been a visual person, very creative. And one of the things that I used to do, so I am known as being the greatest of all time stepper and choreographer. If you agree, say amen. And so I used to like visualize the choreography before. So I've always been a very visual person. And when I could visualize it, I know that's not good English, but I still got my 2 master's degrees. Can't nobody tell me otherwise, because if I can see it, I'm going to kill it. If I could visualize it, I'm going to kill it. Trust me. And so I am very intentional about visualizing what it is I want to achieve. Because when you are trying to achieve something that your brain cannot necessarily grasp, that's when self-sabotage comes in. This is when you have 20 different jobs that you started, 20 different projects that are not complete because you have not taken the time to say, brain, this is what we about to do. Brain, this is what we are about to do. Your brain will reject new. If it happens, we got to make sure that we are telling our brain, this is the path that we are going to take. Brain, we need to get used to walking into an arena with thousands of people that are there to listen to your message. Brain, this is what we are about to do in 2020. If you cannot visualize that thing, you will not be able to achieve it. I don't want my brain to think writing $1 million check is foreign. I need you to be used to that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to visualize that. I'm going to make sure those images are imprinted in my brain. This is what we're going to do in 2020. This is what I'm going to look like. I have to visualize that thing because if I can see it, it's done. Oh my God. For those of you that know, if I could see it, it's a wrap. It's just a wrap. So my secret sauce to goal attainment is making sure that I'm visualizing and I'm depositing into that thing every morning with a 20 to 30 minute visualization in my head. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like. So how are you depositing into your brain? How are you letting your brain know this is what we're going to do? It's important that you're able to visualize it. The second thing that I do is make sure that I align myself with heavy hitters. Big time. My environment, my circle there are so many women in my circle that are in places already that they are flowing and thriving in places that I want to be. And so I'm always pushed. I'm always challenged. They are strong when I am weak, and vice versa. I'm sure that they would say, well, sweetie, you are strong when we are weak. But I align myself with heavy hitters, and that was something that I intentionally did in 2018. I'll never forget it. That's the year I just totally align myself with heavy hitters. You have to make sure that your environment, your social circle reflects where you want to go. It's as simple as that. If you're the smartest person in your group, that's a problem. If you're the problem solver, the smarter one, the strongest one, we have to align ourselves in environments where we can grow. We have to align ourselves in environments where we can grow. You are a seed. You are God's word, a word that cannot go back to him void of what he sent it to accomplish. You're a seed. You got to make sure that you plant yourself in where you can grow. Yes? So I align myself with heavy hitters. So I talked about making sure that I visualize, making sure that I align myself with heavy hitters. Oh my gosh, what's going on with Instagram here? Hi, Instagram. Sorry, not sure what just happened. And I don't know if this is positive. But God reveals to me, and I don't know why, because I don't know if I always want to know, but in my intimate time with God, he often reveals to me people that are not for me, right? And so if you're not for me, that means that your thoughts are opposing where God wants me. And so thoughts become things. So I have to pray against those thoughts that are coming from people who are not necessarily for me. So this is what I do. I still smile. I limit my personal space, but you then become my new motivation to succeed. Is that bad? But it's true. Those people who are not necessarily for me, you're not necessarily supportive, you've betrayed, you've backstabbed, you've just all of that negative stuff. And I don't want to take this time to make this a negative experience, but I use that as motivation. And so my secret sauce for goal attainment, while it's many, making sure that I'm visualizing that thing, making sure I'm planting myself in a social circle that continues to push me to grow. And the last thing is taking that negative energy from other people, your backstabbing, your negative thoughts, your not really for me, just taking all that energy and assuring that it becomes a footstool. I'm standing 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. You can keep on hating. Come on, it is okay, right? Because I'm going to crush it anyway. Because it's not for me. It's not for me. It's what I was designed to do. This is my purpose. And if you have a problem with me thriving, then take it up with God, because He's the one that puts me on a platform to do so. Favor isn't fair. That's my secret sauce. Okay, guys, this was your weekly Ask Schellie segment. Thank you so much for tuning in, being vulnerable, being transparent about where you are. I have gotten so congested in the last 2 minutes. Don't know where that's coming from, but guess what I got? I have oregano oil. I have black seed oil. I have all types of things that I just got. Black seed oil, oregano oil. What was the other one? Was it elderberry? I think it was elderberry oil. I'm going to make sure that I continue to build my immune system, continue to make sure that you're doing what you have to do to stay strong and engaged in this season. We are so used to reading Bible stories. Now we're in one. But guess what? In every Bible story, wasn't there always victory? We got the victory. So just wait patiently for the next. It's coming. Stay strong, stay powerful, encourage each other, and do not forget to be helpful, right? You are part of the answer. So ask yourself, how can my skills, how can my talents, and how can my abilities be a part of this answer? And so once God reveals that to you, do it. Okay? So buy some extra toilet paper if that's what you think you can do, right? If you're financially well, then maybe that's one way that you can sow into the life of someone else. For me, I am providing free consultations for wellness assessments to make sure that people are staying encouraged and empowered and overcoming their fear and anxiety. What can you do to be a part of the answer? Okay? Now, again, for those of you who know, how can we get hair salons and nail salons to become an essential business in this? Please, I'm joking, but please let me look at my nails, my hair. So if we can make it an essential business, I'll be good. Okay, I think Alki, aren't you still taking? How are you doing that with social distancing? Aren't you still working? She also does hair. But anyway, stay well, people. We are gonna make it through. We will overcome. We will survive. We'll be a part of history, and we will make it. We will be among those who live and not die. We will survive and we will thrive in this. Our businesses are well. Our children are well. Our households are well. We are good and we will survive. Survival is a choice. What are you deciding? I'm deciding to thrive, and I invite you to do the same. This was this week's Ask Schellie segment. See you next Tuesday at 12. Blessing.